Okay, so one of the questions people often ask is something that's a nice simple question like, how do I study? How long have you got? And that's actually a good question to start off with how long have you got? And one of the things that people say to me sometimes, well, I sit there for 3 hours or 4 hours and it just gets hard and tiring, and that's not working, well, clearly, particularly if after 4 hours you realise you've just drifted off somewhere else. So we do need to set ourselves up for studying, and we also need to set ourselves up to study effectively and think about what is going to make it easier for us and help us motivate ourselves. One of the things we may want to get rid of in the first instance is you've got a 3-hour block there. Are you going to sit and study for that whole time? No. One of the things we know that your brain needs and your body needs is breaks and interactivity and the ability to move. So there's some interesting work that happens that if you or any person does some work for a while and is effectively learning, and if you test them immediately after they do some of their studying, say you work for 30 minutes and we tested you straight away, what will often happen is if we test you after 10 minutes and you just go away and daydream for 10 minutes, you'll actually get a higher mark after those 10 minutes than if you do immediately after. Now why? Because your brain's making use of that time in the background to start making associations and connect the material for you. So, a couple of good things for you. This is better for your body. We want to go, okay, we're not going to work for 3 hours straight, but if you have 3 hours that you're setting aside to do some work, your first chunk of time is going to be, let's say, 20 to 25 minutes. What do you do after that? Take a break. Walk around. Get some exercise. Call a friend, not for too long. And basically in this time you're not concentrating on the work, but you're also making sure you're doing something that will bring you back, that you can come back from. If you get caught up in playing a computer game that's going to get you addicted for 3 hours, that's probably not the thing to do in that 10-minute break. But this is where you go get a cup of coffee, something like that, go to your bathroom, go for a walk, just walk outside. Or if it's night time and you don't want to walk outside, just lie on a couch for a while and give your brain a chance to make the associations that help you put together more clearly everything that you've done here. So you can see that for a start. Oh, by the way, one of the best things to do in this is, seeing our brain likes reward, think of something that you can reward yourself with. So maybe it is something as simple as a cup of coffee or hot chocolate, or maybe it is a quick phone call to a friend, but you might like to think at the end of every one of these sessions, what's the reward? Or particularly if you've set yourself aside the time to work for 3 hours or so, what's the reward? For some of us, of course, just the break is the reward itself. So you're working this period in terms of 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes and 10 minutes at a time. Much more effective than just sitting down and working for 3 or 4 hours for that whole time. Some good questions around this though. What do you do before you even start? Okay, so before we start studying, there's actually, you might think, okay, well, I'm just going to sit down and study, but actually the setup, and it might only take you a few minutes or even just a few seconds when you're practiced at it, can make all the difference in the world of whether your study period for 3 hours or 2 hours, whatever you choose, is effective or not. Have you ever gone to a party, for example, and said to yourself, oh God, this is going to be boring, I know who's going to be there, and sure enough, it was. Or you've gone into a lecture and thought to yourself, this is going to be boring, I'm not going to learn anything, and you didn't, because you set yourself up to not do that. So it's really important to do a couple of things to actually, if you're going to invest some period of your life, if 2 hours, 3 hours, to actually learn something, it's a couple of hours you're never going to get back. And if your degree is worth getting, then it's worth investing the time really well. So let's think about your study period, and one of the first things you want to do before you even start is, are you set up, are you setting your body and brain up to be able to pay attention, to actually focus on your study? Have you got lots of stuff around in your study area? Now, a lot of us have, but it can be in a place or arranged in a way that keeps grabbing our attention, or it can be arranged in a way that is off to the side, leaves you with a clear space to work and to concentrate. Your brain is designed to pick up little things that grab your attention, particularly in the peripheral vision. So if something moves over there, so if your iPhone, for example, is on the side of your desk and every now and then it's flashing up a new message, guess what your brain's going to do? Straight to that. If you've got the TV flickering in the distance, your brain is also constantly trying to work out what's going on the TV. It's one of the reasons we think, by the way, that one-sided phone calls in public transport are more disturbing than a proper conversation, because your brain's trying to fill in the gaps. All these things are distractions. It takes some good mental discipline to actually say, I'm going to remove the distractions, particularly if you're waiting for a text or a phone call from a friend. But one of the best things you can do is give yourself the time that your brain needs to actually work. So, think distraction busting time. Second part, and set yourself up physically well. Make sure that you're comfortable. Doesn't mean you have to sit up rigidly in a chair. You might be able to study some things comfortably in a couch, as long as you can still stay alert and focused. But let's suppose you've got this study time here. And you're going to break it up, as we've been saying, into 25-minute lots with breaks. But however long you're going to do that, 2 to 3 hours. 3 hours is probably be a good maximum anyway for most people, for physiology. And do you just dive in and start, or do you start thinking about what it is you want to achieve? Your brain needs a target. So we know, for example, when people like basketballers and netballers throw a ball at a basket, and the ones who are really good at it, there's a few milliseconds where in their mind's eye they actually see the trajectory of where the ball's going to go. So and that will change the physiology, the actual coordination of how they actually throw the ball, because there is something to aim for. So if we're going, oh, I have to study, we're not aiming for anything, so start to think about at the end, what can you realistically expect to have achieved? Or even make it a stretch would be even better. What are you aiming to achieve? So what will you achieve by the end of the time that you've set aside to work? Really important. If somebody, for example, says something like, oh, I don't want to forget to return that book to the library. Notice the language, I don't want to forget. Your brain works in interesting ways. To actually understand a negative like that, it actually has to create some kind of representation, so a picture in your head, or a feeling in your body, or things you hear, or a combination of all of that, of what forgetting to return the thing to the library is. So if I say, don't forget to return the book to the library, guess what your brain's now thinking about? Or if you're saying here, I don't want to get bored, guess what your brain is now thinking about? Whereas if you start to go, what do I want? I do want to at least have covered and understood as much as I can of this chapter on internet working or cryptography or whatever subject you're studying in this period. And start to think about how that will link to what you already know and what you'll be doing after it. So we do want to start thinking about what you can do, what will be worthwhile for you to achieve in that time. It takes some mental discipline to go to hear yourself saying, oh, I don't want to get bored. That's right, we all say that. So the next question, if you hear yourself saying something like, I don't want to get bored, just ask yourself the question, good, so what do I want? One of the things we've been talking about is study's interesting. The hardest part is probably the beginning. As you get closer and things start to fall in place, that actually is, well, there's all the little rewards, your cups of coffee along the way, for example. You'll start to get the self-achievement sense of reward when you start to understand that one of the things that will actually set you up is you are going, okay, at the end of this time, where do I want to be? What do I want to have achieved? You don't go off to a party that someone's invited you to and say, okay, I want to get lost. Not unless you're after a particularly adventurous time. You actually go, okay, I want to arrive at that address by a certain time. So you set yourself up to achieve that. Same sort of process here.